Story 1. It was a dark and stormy night when Sarah and her friends decided to visit the old, abandoned castle on the outskirts of town. They had heard rumors of a vampire that lived there, but they didn't believe it. They thought it would be a fun and exciting adventure. As soon as they entered the castle, they knew something was wrong. The air was cold and damp, and the only sound was the howling wind. They searched the castle, room by room, but they found nothing. Just as they were about to leave, they heard a noise coming from the basement. Curious, they decided to investigate. They opened the door to the basement and descended the stairs. As soon as they reached the bottom, they were met with a scene of horror. The walls were lined with human bones, and in the center of the room stood a figure dressed in black. It was the vampire, the bloodthirsty Baron. The Baron was furious that they had trespassed on his territory. He advanced on them, his eyes glowing red and his fangs bared. The friends were terrified, but they knew they had to fight for their lives. They fought bravely, but the vampire was too strong. He was about to claim Sarah as his next victim when she remembered a story her grandmother had told her. It was a legend about a powerful amulet that could protect its wearer from vampires. Sarah remembered that her grandmother had given her the amulet before they left on their adventure. She quickly put it on and the vampire recoiled in fear. The amulet was indeed powerful and it protected her from the vampire's bite. With the vampire defeated, the friends quickly left the castle and never spoke of their terrifying experience again. But Sarah knew that she would always wear the amulet as a reminder of the night she faced the bloodthirsty Baron. The end. Story 2. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a family of vampires. They were feared by all the villagers, but they never harmed anyone. The villagers knew that the vampires only came out at night, and they always stayed away from the village during those hours. One night, a young girl named Sarah decided to take a walk in the woods. She had heard stories of the vampires, but she didn't believe them. She thought they were just silly tales to scare children. But as she walked deeper into the woods, she began to feel uneasy. She heard strange noises and felt like someone was watching her. Suddenly, she saw a figure in the darkness. It was a vampire. Sarah froze with fear as the vampire approached her. It had long, sharp teeth and red eyes. The vampire spoke to Sarah in a cold, sinister voice, "You should not have come here, little girl. Now you will never leave." Sarah tried to run, but the vampire was too fast. It caught her and bit her neck. Sarah screamed and fell to the ground. The vampire drank her blood and then disappeared into the night. The next morning, the villagers found Sarah's body. They were horrified to see that she had been killed by a vampire. They knew that they had to do something to protect themselves from the vampires. The villagers went to the town's leader, and they asked him to help them. The leader knew that the only way to stop the vampires was to kill them. He gathered a group of brave men and they set out to hunt the vampires. They searched the woods, but they couldn't find any trace of the vampires. They searched for days, but they still couldn't find them. Just when they were about to give up, they heard a noise coming from a cave. They cautiously approached the cave and found the vampire's lair. The vampires were sleeping, and the villagers knew that this was their chance to destroy them. They set fire to the cave, and the vampires were killed in the flames. The villagers were relieved that the vampires were no longer a threat to their village. They knew that they could now sleep safely at night. But they also knew that they would never forget the horror of the vampires' attack. The end. Story 3. Once upon a time, in the beautiful state of California, there were 3 friends named Jack, Jill, and Bill. They were all in their early 20s and loved to have a good time together. They would often go on adventures and explore the different parts of California. One day, the 3 friends decided to go on a road trip to the famous Hollywood sign. They packed their bags, got in their car, and set off on their journey. As they were driving, they noticed that the gas gauge was getting low. They decided to stop at a gas station to fill up. But as soon as they pulled in, they realized that it was a self-service gas station and none of them had ever pumped gas before. Jack, being the brave one, decided to give it a try. He got out of the car and walked over to the gas pump. He picked up the nozzle and tried to put it into the car's gas tank. But instead of going in the tank, gas started spraying all over the car and the ground. Jill and Bill couldn't stop laughing as they watched Jack trying to control the gas pump. He finally managed to get the gas into the tank, but not before getting covered in gas himself. Feeling embarrassed, Jack got back into the car and they continued their journey. As they were driving, they saw a sign that said, "World's largest ball of twine," and decided to check it out. When they arrived, they were surprised to see just how big the ball of twine was. It was so big that they couldn't even see the top of it. They decided to climb the ball of twine to get a better view. Jack, being the adventurous one, went first. He started climbing and made it to the top in no time. But as he reached the top, he realized that he had left his camera in the car. So, he decided to slide down the twine to retrieve it. But as soon as he started sliding, the twine began to unravel. Jill and Bill watched in horror as the twine unraveled and the ball started rolling away. They ran after it, but they couldn't catch it. They finally caught up to the ball of twine after it had rolled through the streets of the small town. The locals were chasing the ball, trying to stop it. They finally managed to stop it in front of the sheriff's office. The sheriff walked out and asked the 3 friends what was going on. They explained the situation and the sheriff couldn't stop laughing. He gave them a warning and told them to be more careful in the future. Feeling embarrassed, the 3 friends got back in the car and continued their journey to the Hollywood sign. When they finally arrived, they took a group photo in front of the sign and then headed back home. The end.